Hello everyone, this is James Fredrickson, and today we're going to cover matrices. So I've got three matrices listed up here. I've got this is a 3x3 matrix, this is a 3x3, and of course this is a 3x3 with their resultants. So if you were equating this to three equations, three unknowns, this might be something like 3x plus 0y plus 5z equals 3, 8x plus 7y plus 8z equals 8, and finally 0x plus 3y plus 7z equals 2. So once again, it's a 3x3 matrix. And if you've done the hand calculations in math, you know how tedious this can be, and certainly Excel takes all the work out of it. So what we want to do is we want to take these values up here and we want to transfer them to this highlighted area here. So as I type, I'd like you to watch this counter kind of tick up. So I'll type a 3 and hit the right arrow key, and you can see I got a point, and a 0, and a 5, and we'll do an 8, and a 7, and an 8, and then lastly we'll do a 0, and a 3, and I believe it's a 7, and then I'll move over and I'll put the resultants in, a 3, an 8, and a 2. Okay, so I've got my 12 points right now. Now what I want to do is I want to find out and see if a solution set exists. So is there a solution for x, y, and z, or is it going to give me nonsense? So not every 3x3 matrix will produce a solution set. And if you once again, if you've done the math the long way, you know that this is a long and tedious process, and it's really prone to making arithmetic mistakes. So what we're going to do is we're going to find out if there is a determinant. If there is a determinant, in other words, if I get a positive number in this cell or a negative number in this cell, it means that a solution set exists. If I get a 0, that means no solution set exists and I'm done with this problem. So let's see if there's a determinant. So if you look right over here, I've put some of the formulas in that we're going to use, and this one is called MDETERM. So it's find the matrix determinant. So I'll hit the equals button, and I'll type MD, and look, it moves my command right to the top of the list, so I'll double click on it. And then it's asking me to highlight an array. So I'm going to move up here to the 3x3 matrix. I'm going to highlight the 3x3, and I'm going to hit the enter button. And I get a number of 195. Well, like I said before, if it's a positive number or a negative number, anything other than a 0, a solution set exists. So I'm going to move over here, and I'm going to put an X in here, and I'm going to mark yes, a solution set exists. Okay, in order to find the solution set here, we need to first find the inverse of this matrix up here, and then we need to take the inverse and we need to multiply it by the resultants, and that'll give us our x, y, and z values. So how do we find a matrix inverse? Well, first thing you need to do is you need to highlight all 9 of these cells. All right, and then you need to issue this command, equals minverse. So hit the equals button. I'll type MINV. There's my command right there. I'll double click on it. And I'm going to highlight the matrix that I want to find the inverse of. And here's the important thing to remember. After I close the parentheses, I need to hold the shift button down, the control button down, and then tap the enter button, since I'm entering 9 values rather than 1. So I'll hold the shift button, control button, and then I'll just tap the enter button. And I got it to enter all of these values. If you forget to do that, you're only going to get this value, and it's going to give you some pound signs and some errors in the rest of these cells. So anyway, here's my inverse. Now what I want to do is I want to take this inverse right here. I want to multiply by the resultants, and I want to put that right here in the solution set. So what do we do first? We highlight where we want the answer to go. And the command that we're going to issue is mmult. So I'll type in equals mm. There's my command. And it says mmul, and it says array1, comma, array2. So I'm going to highlight the inverse first. I'm going to separate it by a comma. I'm going to highlight the resultants. I'm going to close with a parentheses. And since I'm looking for 3 answers, once again I have to hold the control button down, the shift button down, and then tap the enter button. All right, so this one has been done correctly. I've got 20 out of 52 points. Let's move down to the next one. So I want to enter these 9 values right here. So what's the first one? It's a 1, a 2, and a 0. You can see my points ticking up. So we'll do a 0 and a 1 and a 1. And then last but not least, we'll do a 2, a 5, and a 1, and then we'll place our resultants in here, a 4, a 3, and a 3. So it looks like we've got everything right. And if you remember previously, the first thing we want to do is we want to see if there is a solution set exists. So we do that by determining whether or not the determinant is a positive number or a negative number. So I'm going to click here. To issue the command, it's equals MDETERM. So I'll hit the equals button and I'll type MD. There's my command right there. I'm going to highlight the array. I'm going to close with the parentheses. And since I'm only looking for one answer, I can just hit the enter button. Now take a look. I've got a 0 here. A 0 means that there is no solution set exists. There's no inverse that exists. So what I want to do is I want to move over to the no box and simply put an X in here. So do not try and find the inverse. And do not try and find a solution set. There's not one that exists because we have a 0 there. And we're going to move down to the last one here, and we'll do this final one here. So we're going to enter these numbers. So we've got a 4, a 3, and a 3. And we've got a 3, and an 8, and a 4. And a 3, and a 2, and an 8. And a 7. 3, 2. Okay. What's next? Well, we want to see if their solution set exists. So we'll click here. And what's the command? It's equals MDETERM. So I hit equals. And all I have to do is type an M and a D. And that command pops up to the top of the list. I'll double click on it. I'll highlight the array. Since I'm only looking for one answer rather than 9, I can simply hit the enter button. Since this is a positive number, a solution set does exist, so I'll put an X in this box. And now I'm going to find the inverse. So an inverse has how many solutions to it? 9 solutions, right? And so hit the equals button. I'm going to type in MINV, look for inverse. I'm going to highlight all of the numbers above in this array, the 3 by 3 array. I'm going to close with the parentheses. And then once again, since I'm looking for 9 answers, Control, Shift, and then tap the enter button. And then finally I can find the solution set. So I'll highlight these 3 to find the solution set. I'll hit the equals button. I'm going to type an M and an M to bring up matrix multiplication. I'll double click on it. I highlight the inverse first, always the inverse first, followed by a comma to separate the arrays. I'll go up and I'll highlight the resultants. I'll close with the parentheses. And since I'm looking for 3 answers, it's Control Shift plus the enter button. And as you can see, I've done it correctly. So I got 50 out of 52 points. And this covers how to create or how to easily solve a 3 by 3 matrix. So if I was equating this to X, Y, and Z values, X would be equal to 0.64, Y would be equal to 0.16, and Z would be equal to 0.22. No solution set exists for problem B. And then for problem C, X would be equal to 2.34, Y would be equal to minus 0.22, and Z would be equal to minus 0.57. Thanks for listening.